Tonight on Ukraine Today. Exclusive footage will show you how Ukrainian aviation is taking out invaders and how Russian soldiers are leaving their wounded behind on the battlefield. Quickly and efficiently, NATO's Supreme Allied Commander Europe shares his thoughts on how Ukraine is using Western weapons. Russia's peaceful intentions, at least 5 civilians killed and dozens injured after Russian strike on Kharkiv, Dnipro and Kiev region. Dragging it out, the UK and France accused dictator Putin of stalling ceasefire negotiations. Signalgate, the Pentagon's Inspector General launched an investigation into US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. All that and more, right here on Ukraine Today. Hello from Ukraine, I'm Volodymyr Robchun. Like, subscribe, and let's get started. According to Ukraine's general staff, in the past 24 hours alone, Russia lost 7 tanks, 30 armored vehicles, a multiple rocket launcher system, and dozens of other pieces of equipment. And since the start of the full-scale invasion, Ukraine has destroyed over 4,000 Russian tanks. That's almost an entire US tank corps. NATO's Supreme Allied Commander Europe, General Christopher Cavoli, confirmed this information and added that Ukraine is using Western weapons efficiently to push back the Russian attacks. Speaking at the US Senate Armed Services Committee hearing, he highlighted Ukraine's rapid mastery of F-16 fighter jets and Patriot air defense systems.
There are more F-16s prepared to be deployed in there. There are more pilots in the training pipeline, sir. I can give you the numbers in closed session. They are active. The planes are active, and they fly every day. They've defeated a large number of cruise missile threats, and they've delivered an awful lot of offensive attacks as well, specifically bombing attacks in the east. None of the F-16s has been from the U.S., though. They've mainly been from Northern European countries, Netherlands, Denmark.
Status for Patriot systems that we've had there for several years?
Yep, they are up and running, sir. I can tell you exactly in closed session, but that has been, in my mind, a success story. Frankly, I was just a little bit dubious in the beginning. It's a complicated system. We train guys for a long, long time to be able to operate it. The Ukrainians put their best people against it and took to it like a fish to water. And in fact, we learned from some of their employment techniques right now.
Bottom line, more weapons, better defense, greater chances of victory. Coming up, exclusive visuals of Ukrainian pilots eliminating Russian forces, while their own comrades refuse to evacuate the wounded. And that's not all. New intel suggests Russia is preparing another large-scale offensive. Soldiers of Ukraine's legendary 3rd Assault Brigade warn that it might happen very soon.
Ukrainian aviation is lighting up in the literal sense of the word. In this video, exclusive footage from the front line. A MiG-29 strikes with 2 ASEM hammer bombs on a house with Russian occupiers in the Zaporizhzhia region on the Pokrovsk direction. Nevertheless, the enemy does not cease attempts to find weak spots on the front and advance. There is an increase in the activity of Russian troops on the front. They are intensifying strikes on key directions, preparing for a potential large-scale offensive. New tactics are creating new challenges for the Russians. As discovered by the partisans of the Atesh movement in the Zaporizhzhia region, the Russians are increasingly using small group tactics without the use of equipment. Accordingly, in the event of an injury, no one will come to evacuate the occupiers. Their further fate either to remain dying under the open sky or to be captured by our soldiers.
But again, they are already beginning to feel an acute shortage of personnel. Therefore, the tactic of small groups is being employed. There is the infiltration groups are moving there in 2s, 3s, 5s, up to 10 people in squads. The equipment is heavy. It practically does not approach the impact zone to a depth of up to 5 kilometers. And if it does approach, it's the kind that they clearly don't mind losing.
Most often, the Russians first send small infantry groups forward. Then the occupiers look for cover to gather strength. Ukrainian aerial reconnaissance detects such attempts, and the operators of the UAV group Spartan eliminate the Russians using various types of drones. Even though the Russians are dying like flies, they do not stop coming to Ukraine. Ukrainian military report that for April-May of this year, Russian forces are preparing a new offensive on Kharkiv and Sumy regions.
We have definite information that the Russian Federation is indeed preparing an offensive for April. There are units currently located in the rear areas. In our direction, this is approximately 2 to 3 divisions. They have reserves, they are well staffed with personnel, and have been on training grounds for over a month, preparing for their future actions.
There are attempts to break through on quad bikes or motorcycles, but our FPV operators handle them quite confidently and quickly. For now, it is more of a tactic of intimidation and terrorizing the civilian population. Yesterday's shelling of Kharkiv, the shelling of Zaporizhzhia, the shelling of peaceful cities. Oh, a typical treacherous situation for the Russian army and for Russia as a whole.
Another typical tactic of the Kremlin dictator is to mobilize as many people as possible to then send them to the front, which is what he has been doing in recent days.
Take a person off the street and throw them into a training camp. In a month, they will more or less learn to dig in, shoot, move in dispersed formation, camouflage, and distinguish a grenade from an anti-tank mine. In principle, this is quite enough for a short offensive.
The key point in all of this is that the offensives by the occupying army are indeed short, but the casualties from all of this are too high.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
Ukraine is fighting for freedom. Support Ukrainian journalists so we can continue bringing you the truth about this war. Click the link in the description to become our sponsor. Together to victory. At least 5 civilians lost their lives and dozens were injured in another Russian strike on the Ukrainian city of Kharkiv. The invaders used drones. Unfortunately, several Shaheds bypassed air defense and hit their targets. A whole section of a residential building was destroyed. The attack happened late at night when people were either getting ready to bed or already asleep. Russia then attacked Dnipro and the Kiev region. More casualties, more destruction. So much for peaceful intentions. Here's what Senator Roger Wicker, chairman of the US Senate Armed Services Committee, had to say about Russian aggression and Ukraine's resilience.
The European continent is now entering its 3rd year of war as Russia continues its brutal assault against Ukraine. There's no question who started this war. Despite the physical and psychological exhaustion and material constraints from the conflict, the Ukrainian military and people have heroically and successfully continued to resist Russian efforts to subjugate them. The war serves as a brutal reminder that Vladimir Putin has chosen to become an enemy of the West and to throw away Russia's future.
And The Telegraph has some interesting stats. Under the cover of peace initiatives, Russia is ramping up attacks on Ukraine. Since US-mediated negotiations started in February 2025, Russian drone attacks have increased by over 50%. This isn't about the US, it's about Russia's so-called agreements. The UK and France are calling out Putin of dragging his feet on ceasefire talks. According to the Washington Post, the British and French foreign ministers claim Russia completely rejected an US proposal for a full 30-day ceasefire in Ukraine. They argue that Kiev agreed to the terms 3 weeks ago, while Russia keeps changing its position, all while continuing to strike Ukraine's energy infrastructure and commit war crimes. So case closed. Putin and the Kremlin don't want peace. Better to realize that late than never. The real question is, are global leaders doing enough to stop Russia? The Pentagon's Inspector General has opened an investigation into the US Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth. According to The Guardian, the probe is linked to his use of the Signal messaging app to discuss classified US military operations in Yemen. That could be a serious security breach. Reports suggest that exact and possibly secret data was shared in the Signal group chat The Wall Street Journal previously reported that the US National Security Advisor Mike Waltz also used Signal to discuss negotiation over the war in Ukraine. Look, if Yemen operation succeeds despite or maybe because of Signal discussions, then maybe they should keep using it to talk about Russia's war in Ukraine. Who knows? It might just bring a just peace closer. That's all for today. Thanks for being with us. We read your comments and feel your support. Strength to our defenders. Glory to Ukraine. Like, subscribe, and see you soon.